A habit you do every single morning. Something you've done for 30 years without thinking twice. Maybe rewriting your DNA in ways that promote cancer. And after 50, your body can no longer fix the damage. I'm Dr. Stephen Hauk, a physician and researcher specializing in the 5 biological defense systems that determine how you age: angiogenesis, regeneration, microbiome, DNA protection, and immunity. These 5 systems decide whether your body fights disease or feeds it. What you'll get from this video: here's what's happening in this video and why you need to stay until the end. Your doctor has 15 minutes with you, maybe 12 once vitals are taken. In that window, they're triaging, checking boxes, managing prescriptions, doing heroic work under impossible time pressure. But what they cannot do in 12 minutes is sit with you and say, "Let me show you what's happening inside your cells every time you eat this food. Let me walk you through the MIT research from 8 months ago. Let me explain why this habit hits differently at 60 than it did at 35. That's exactly what I'm doing today. I'll first reveal the specific daily habit that oncology researchers are now flagging, and the biological mechanism behind it, not just vague warnings. Then I'll walk you through 5 research-backed pillars to protect yourself. In the middle, I'll share what I call the synergy secret, a combination effect that multiplies your protection in ways most people have never heard of. And the final pillar at the end ties everything together. If you leave before that, you'll miss the piece that makes all the other pieces work. So let's get into it. And before we go further, everything I share today is educational. I'm synthesizing published research and offering my perspective as a physician. This is not a replacement for your own doctor, who knows your history, your genetics, your medications. If something resonates today, bring it to your next appointment. Print it out. Ask questions. That partnership, you being informed, your physician being your guide, that's what actually changes outcomes. So what is this daily habit? It's the chronic, excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods, specifically processed meats and heavily refined carbohydrate products that have become the invisible architecture of the American diet after 50. Now, I know what you're thinking. Processed food is bad. That's not new. You're right. The headline isn't new, but the mechanism is. We now understand the molecular chain of events, the exact biological cascade that links these foods to accelerated cellular aging and increased cancer risk, specifically in the post-50 body. And it has nothing to do with vague chemicals in your food. It has everything to do with your epigenome, the master control system that tells your genes when to activate and when to stay silent. And when this system breaks down, that's when things get dangerous. Let me show you exactly how. The epigenetic clock explained: think of your DNA as the complete library of blueprints for an entire city, every building, bridge, water treatment plant. You were born with this full library, but your epigenome is the city planner. It decides which blueprints get pulled off the shelf and built, and which stay locked in storage. When you're young, the city planner is sharp, precise, right buildings, right neighborhoods, right timing. But as you age, and this is where 2024 research from Harvard's Department of Genetics gets remarkable, that city planner starts making errors. Blueprints that should stay locked in the vault get pulled out. Tumor-suppressing genes get silenced. Genes that promote unchecked cell growth get activated. This process is called epigenetic drift. We now measure it using epigenetic clocks, biological age calculators based on DNA methylation patterns across your genome. Here's the critical finding. A 2024 study in Nature Aging from Harvard and the German Cancer Research Center showed that diets high in ultra-processed foods were associated with accelerated epigenetic aging. Not by months, by years. But here's where the data takes a turn most people don't expect. It's not just that processed food ages your cells faster. It's that after 50, your body loses a specific repair capacity that used to buffer you against this damage. And that changes the entire risk equation. The repair deficit at 25. Your body runs a tireless crew of DNA repair enzymes. Copy editors scanning every page of your genetic manuscript for typos, fixing them in real time. One of the most critical systems is called Base Excision Repair, or BER. A 2024 paper from MIT's Koch Institute showed that BER efficiency declines significantly after the fifth decade. The copy editors don't quit, they slow down. They miss more errors. And the errors they miss cluster in regions that regulate cell growth. Now layer on a daily diet rich in nitrosamines, found in bacon, hot dogs, deli meats, and acrylamide, generated when starchy foods hit high temperatures. These compounds generate reactive oxygen species, molecular wrecking balls that physically snap DNA strands. At 30, the copy editors catch most of that damage. At 60, they're overwhelmed. More damage becomes permanent. Permanent damage becomes mutation. And mutations in the wrong location become the seeds from which malignancy can grow. Beat. This isn't fear. This is physics. The same bacon sandwich you ate at 30 carries a fundamentally different biological risk at 60. Your body changed. The food didn't. Transition to the 5 pillars. So what do we do with this knowledge? Not panic. We respond with precision. I've organized the most impactful strategies into 5 pillars, 5 daily adjustments that work with your biology. Each one includes a synergy tip, a combination that amplifies the benefit beyond what either habit achieves alone. Pillar 1. Recalibrate your plate architecture. Pillar 1. Recalibrate your plate architecture. I don't use the word diet. Diets are temporary. This is a structural shift in how you compose a meal. The American Institute for Cancer Research, updated 2025, reinforces the 2/3 plate rule. 2/3 of your plate by visual volume from plant sources, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes. The remaining third can include animal protein, but the type and preparation matter enormously. Why? At the cellular level, plants contain polyphenol, sulforaphane in broccoli, quercetin in onions, ellagic acid in berries. These aren't just antioxidants in the vague marketing sense. They are epigenetic modulators. They influence which blueprints your city planner pulls off the shelf. A 2025 study from Stanford's Prevention Research Center, participants over 55 who increased polyphenol intake over 12 weeks showed a statistically significant slowing of their epigenetic clock. Biological age decelerated. And here's the part that surprised even the researchers. The benefit was not linear. The biggest jump came from moving from low to moderate plant intake. Going from 1 serving of vegetables to 3 or 4 daily produced a more dramatic shift than going from 4 to 7. The most important step is the first one. Synergy tip: pair plant-rich meals with healthy fat, extra virgin olive oil, avocado, walnuts. Many polyphenol are fat-soluble. Without dietary fat, your body absorbs a fraction of what's on the plate. The olive oil isn't garnish. It's a delivery vehicle. 1 + 1 = 3. Pillar 2. Disrupt the sitting pattern. Pillar 2. Disrupt the sitting pattern. Not because exercise is new advice, but because the specific mechanism I'm about to describe is. In 2024, MD Anderson Cancer Center published a paper identifying a pathway connecting prolonged sitting to changes in angiogenesis signaling, how your body grows new blood vessels. Here's the analogy. Your blood vessel network is a city's road system. Normally, roads are built only where needed. New neighborhoods, growing populations. That's healthy angiogenesis. But when you sit for 3, 4, 5 unbroken hours, signaling molecules shift. The balance tips. In certain tissues, colon, breast, prostate, the body creates abnormal vascular patterns. Tiny, chaotic vessels that don't serve healthy tissue but can serve microscopic tumors needing a blood supply. Now here's the critical nuance that changes the conversation. The risk wasn't linked to total sitting time alone. It was linked to uninterrupted sitting time. Participants who broke sitting every 30 to 45 minutes with just 2 to 3 minutes of movement, standing, walking to the kitchen, a few bodyweight squats, showed significantly different angiogenesis markers than those who sat for 3 consecutive hours. The interruption mattered more than the total. So if you've been sitting for more than 40 minutes right now, stand up, roll your shoulders, march in place for 30 seconds. You just sent a corrective signal to your vascular system. Synergy tip: combine movement breaks with hydration. Keep your water glass across the room. Every refill combines 2 protective behaviors: movement interruption plus kidney clearance of metabolic waste, including carcinogenic compounds. Your environment's architecture becomes your health's architecture. Pillar 3. Protect your sleep architecture. Pillar 3. Protect your sleep architecture. I won't tell you to get more sleep. What I'll tell you is what happens to your DNA repair systems between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., and why that window is biologically non-negotiable. Your body performs the majority of DNA repair during deep, slow-wave sleep. The enzyme PRP1, a master responder to DNA strand breaks, peaks during the deepest non-REM phases. It's the emergency repair crew rushing to the scene of molecular damage. A 2025 study from the University of Chicago Sleep Research Laboratory, adults over 50 with less than 6 hours of sleep or fragmented sleep, showed measurable accumulation of unrepaired DNA lesions in white blood cells over 12 weeks. Not theoretical damage, quantifiable strand breaks. Connect this to Pillar 1. If your diet introduces DNA-damaging compounds, nitrosamines, acrylamides, and your sleep is too short for full repair, you're running a deficit, accumulating damage faster than you can fix it. And here's the connection most people miss entirely. Your microbiome directly influences sleep quality. A 2024 paper in Cell Host and Microbes showed specific gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that cross the blood-brain barrier and modulate GABA production, a neurotransmitter essential for deep sleep. When the microbiome is disrupted by ultra-processed, low-fiber diets, GABA drops. Sleep suffers. DNA repair suffers. One system feeds the other. One web. Synergy tip: a small serving of fermented food in the evening, sauerkraut, plain kefir, provides both prebiotic fiber and probiotic organisms supporting the gut-brain axis involved in deep sleep initiation. Not a sleep aid. An ecosystem support strategy. The midpoint synergy secret. This is where I share the synergy secret. Every adjustment I've described produces measurable benefit alone. But 2025 data from the European Prospective Investigation into Cancer and Nutrition, over 500,000 participants, found something extraordinary. Participants who adopted 3 or more behaviors simultaneously showed risk reduction greater than the sum of each individual contribution. The technical term, superadditive effect. Your gut health improves sleep. Sleep improves DNA repair. DNA repair buffers dietary damage. Movement improves vascular health. Vascular health improves nutrient delivery everywhere. This isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. Pillar 4. Manage chronic inflammation. Pillar 4. Address the silent fire. Physicians call it inflammaging, chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that increases after 50, even without infection or injury. Your immune system becomes slightly overactivated at baseline. It produces inflammatory cytokines, IL-6, TNF-alpha, even with no invader to fight. Like a smoke detector going off when there's no fire. But the real danger isn't the noise. Chronic inflammation creates tissue microenvironments, particularly in colon, liver, and pancreas, more hospitable to aberrant cell growth. A 2024 meta-analysis in the Lancet Oncology elevated chronic inflammation markers were independently associated with increased cancer incidence in adults over 50, even after adjusting for smoking, obesity, and family history. But here's the finding that reframes the entire inflammation conversation. The strongest dietary driver of chronic inflammation wasn't sugar alone or red meat alone. It was the combination of ultra-processed foods and low-fiber intake. The pattern, sustained over years, most strongly predicted elevated inflammatory markers. The inverse was equally true. An anti-inflammatory dietary pattern, omega-3s from fish and flaxseed, fiber from legumes, polyphenol from berries and green tea, was associated with measurably lower C-reactive protein and IL-6. Not eliminated, lowered, brought toward a healthier baseline. Synergy tip: omega-3s and polyphenol work through different anti-inflammatory pathways. Omega-3s inhibit COX-2. Polyphenol modulate NF-κB signaling. Wild salmon with steamed broccoli and lemon. Two distinct biological channels addressed simultaneously. Two locks, two keys. Pillar 5. Cultivate cellular cleanup. Autophagy Pillar 5. Support your body's cellular recycling system. This one fascinates me most. 10 years ago, almost no one outside molecular biology knew the word. Now it's reshaping how we think about aging and cancer risk. Autophagy, from Greek, auto, self, phage, eating, cellular self-eating. Think of your cells as apartments. Over time, furniture breaks, appliances malfunction, junk accumulates. Autophagy is the deep cleaning crew, identifying damaged organelles, misfolded proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and recycling them into functional components. Why does this matter for cancer risk? Damaged cellular components, especially damaged mitochondria, generate excessive reactive oxygen species. They become sources of DNA damage from within. If the cleaning crew never comes, the apartment doesn't just look messy. It becomes structurally hazardous. A 2025 study from the Salk Institute showed autophagy efficiency declines measurably after 50, correlating with accumulation of senescent cells. Zombie cells, cells that stop dividing but refuse to die. They linger. They secrete inflammatory molecules. They corrupt their neighbors. Now here's where this becomes practical and powerful. Autophagy can be supported. 3 evidence-based approaches. First, time-restricted eating, not extreme fasting. Narrowing your eating window to 10 or 12 hours, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., is associated with enhanced autophagic markers per a 2024 Pennington Biomedical Research Center trial. Second, moderate aerobic exercise. A brisk 30-minute walk triggers AMPK activation, an upstream autophagy signal. You need shoes and a sidewalk. Third, deep sleep. Autophagy peaks during the same slow-wave phases as DNA repair. Your body isn't resting during sleep. It's renovating. Synergy tip: time-restricted eating plus a morning walk creates compounding autophagic signaling. Extended overnight fast plus AMPK activation. 2 inputs, 1 amplified output. The cleaning crew shows up with twice the equipment. Let me show you what we've built, because these aren't 5 separate to-do items. Pillar 1, plate recalibration, supports DNA protection and feeds the microbiome. Pillar 2, movement interruption, supports healthy angiogenesis. Pillar 3, sleep protection, activates DNA repair and regeneration through autophagy. Pillar 4, inflammation management, supports immune surveillance of abnormal cells. Pillar 5, autophagy support, enhances regeneration and cellular quality control for every other system. 5 pillars, 5 defense systems, 1 interconnected web. Support one, you support them all. Let me be honest with you. I know what it's like to hear about the ideal diet, perfect sleep, optimal exercise, and feel overwhelmed. Especially after 50, when life has already handed you a full plate. Maybe you're caring for an aging parent. Maybe your joints ache. Maybe you've eaten a certain way for 40 years and overhauling everything feels impossible. I'm not asking you to overhaul everything. I'm asking you to do one thing differently tomorrow. Swap the processed deli sandwich for grilled chicken with spinach and olive oil. Set a phone timer to stand every 45 minutes. Put your phone in another room at 9 p.m. so blue light doesn't fragment your deep sleep. One change, sustained for 2 weeks. Then add a second when it feels natural. The behavior change research is clear, identity-based habits. I am someone who moves throughout the day, outperform goal-based habits. I need 10,000 steps by a wide margin. You're not checking a box. You're becoming someone whose biology responds in kind. Remember the retired engineer from the beginning? 62. Morning walks. Oatmeal. Clean physicals. His daily habit. Processed convenience foods for lunch and dinner. Frozen meals. Packaged deli meats. Shelf-stable snacks engineered for taste, not biology. 30 years running. When we sat down, really sat down, and I walked him through this research, he didn't panic. He got quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. Nobody ever explained the why to me. They just said, eat healthier. They never told me what was happening inside. That's the gap this video exists to close. Eat healthier is a bumper sticker. Understanding that your 50-year-old DNA repair enzymes can no longer buffer daily nitrosamine exposure. That is information you can act on. That's the difference between a vague intention and a clear decision. He made gradual changes. 6 months later, inflammatory markers improved. Sleep improved. He said he felt lighter, not in weight, in something harder to measure and more important to feel. We live in a food environment not designed for your longevity. It was designed for shelf stability, profit margins, and sensory appeal. Not a conspiracy, an economic reality. But you're allowed to change what you demand. From the food system, from your healthcare, from yourself. Every time you choose a whole food over a processed one, you're casting a vote for a biological future where your DNA repair crews have less damage to manage. Your immune system focuses on surveillance instead of firefighting, and your epigenetic clock ticks a little more slowly. You are, in a molecular sense, authoring the next chapter of your biology. And at 50, 60, 70, that authorship isn't diminished. Epigenetic changes are reversible. Inflammatory markers improve. Sleep architecture restores. The microbiome remodels in weeks. You are not too late. That's not a platitude. It's a biological fact supported by the largest longitudinal studies in human history. So here is my question, and I genuinely want you to think about this. Then share your answer below. What is the one daily habit you've never questioned? So woven into your routine, it's become invisible, that you're now willing to examine with fresh eyes. Not to judge yourself, not guilt, just to see clearly. Because clarity is the first act of self-care. Everything else follows from there. I'm Dr. Stephen Houck. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to think deeply about your health. If this conversation meant something to you, share it with someone you care about. Not for the algorithm, for them. Because everyone deserves to understand what's happening inside their own body. I'll see you in the next one.